There's a question asked by Suresh Kumar. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, stay in I am. And Ramana Maharshi says, inquire who am I. Are these two same approaches or different approaches? How they are related to each other is the question. So they are not same. When Ramana Maharshi says, ask who am I, then he is not asking to hold on to some feeling or emotion. This question of who am I is to eliminate all the answers given by the mind. The mind has a ready-made answer. I am husband, I am wife, I am man, I am woman. So the who am I question naturally eliminates all these questions, all these answers which are given by the mind. The real answer for who am I, there is silence. By inquiring who am I, you are abiding in the self directly. You can change the question a little bit, then you will understand. So if you ask the question, am I a man? The mind will be answering, yes, I am man. So if you ask the question, am I a father? The answer is yes, the mind will give the answer. If you ask the question, am I aware? So the mind will give you the answer, I am aware. But awareness is not an object. Like I am father is an object, mother is a father is a role. I am a man is a for the body. But awareness is not an object. When I ask the question, am I aware? There's a question. Then there's a gap. And then there's an answer, I am aware. So this in between the two, the answer didn't come from the mind. Answer didn't come from memory. Because awareness is not something related to memory. So there is a direct answer, I am aware. It's not an answer from the memory. So between the question and answer, question, are you aware? And the answer, I am aware. The gap, in the gap, you were in awareness, not in memory. But for any other question, are you a man? Yes, I am a man. The answer comes from the memory because it's a man is a, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a husband. All these things are recorded in memory because they are objects. They have a name and form. Awareness has no name and form. So that's why the Ramana Maharshi's question, are you aware, has no answer from the memory. Who are you? Who am I? For that, there's no answer from memory because I am is awareness. So the silence is the answer. In that silence, I am awareness. Okay. Whereas Nisargadatta, and that if you stay in that awareness without giving verbalizing, so then you are abiding in the self. Now this the question, who am I, should not be asked as a verbal question. It is a non-verbal inquiry because verbal inquiry will give a verbal answer from the mind. Non-verbally, you have to try to find out who am I. Then there's a non-verbal awareness. Awareness is not verbalized. So when you are staying with non-verbal awareness, that's called abiding in the self. Whereas for all other answers, if you ask a question, verbally, if you ask a question, who am I? The answer will come to the mind from memory. It even will say, I am Brahman, I am Sakshi. It can even say, I am consciousness. So these are all mental answers. The who am I question really answer is, the question itself is non-verbal. So now let us come back to Nisargadatta Maharaj's solution. Nisargadatta Maharaj says, stay in I amness. Staying in I amness is not abiding in the self. I am, there's a feeling of I am in me. Okay, that's called pure ego. So when I wake up in the morning, there's a feeling of I amness. And then after that feeling of I amness, the body appears and the world appears and I am body feeling comes. So the I am here is referring to a reflected consciousness. So then you associate I am with the body. I am husband, I am a man, I am a woman. So multiple things you associate. So Nisargadatta was saying, I am plus something you drop. Just stay as I am, as a feeling. I am man, I am woman, I am the body. So all this, whatever associate with the I am, just drop. Stay in that I am feeling. Okay. So the I am feeling is the reflected consciousness in the mind. So you are staying in the Chidabhasa. So you are that in that you drop all the associations. So the pure I am is called reflected consciousness. It's actually called Ishvara, universal consciousness. So when you stay in that and not associate with any other body, mind, and intellect, then you are staying as a pure I am. So the pure I am is also an object, because the I am appears in the morning, disappears in the deep sleep. That I am feeling. So now Nisargadatta Maharaj says, stay in that I am feeling. First he's saying, eliminate all other associated with the I am, body, mind, intellect, everything. Stay as I am. Now, as you stay as I am, you realize that I am is also an object. I am is also not a pure subject.
How is it?
Because I am appears and disappears. I am appears in the morning and disappears in the deep sleep state. So the I am is also an object.
But who is this object?
First, let me. Okay. So I am also is an object. I am is first you say I am is a subject. Okay, I am. So because everything, whenever I talk something, I am somebody. I am somebody. You say that I am. You are taking as subject. It's nothing but reflected consciousness. Okay, it's a feeling. But when you stay in that feeling, eliminating all other associations, all other adjectives to I am, then you are staying in pure I am. But pure I am is also an appearance in consciousness. It appears and disappears. That I am is not there. You cannot stay in that I am in the deep sleep, because there's no I am in the deep sleep. In dream it's there, but in waking state is there. So you are able to stay in the I am in the waking state. But then you realize that there is a witness of I am. I am is appearing and disappearing. I am the witness. So gradually you drop that I am and stay as the witness of I am, awareness. So that is next step in Nisargadatta. That Nisargadatta Maharaj says Parabrahman. So I am is called Brahman. Brahman is manifest reality. Parabrahman is the unmanifest reality, is pure awareness, the witness, the Sakshi. So Nisargadatta Maharaj says it gives two-step process. Stay as I am first, and I am feeling, and then go beyond I am feeling to remain as awareness. So it's a two-step process. So when you say abide in the self, the abiding in the self is nothing but abiding in pure awareness or the Sakshi.
This I am, that means. Then what is the gap also in?
Okay, so your question is now, you are continuing your question. Your question is now, Ramana Maharshi say, Nisargadatta Maharaj gives a two-step process. One is stay in I am and then go to pure awareness. So in Ramana Maharshi's question, who am I? That is not recommended. Staying in the temporary I am is not there. Straight away it goes to awareness. So you say there's a gap when you ask the question, who am I? It's not non-verbal. It's not a verbal question. It's non-verbally I'm trying to find out who am I. Okay, then so mental also may come. That you drop. Then what remains is pure awareness. It's not I am, which is reflected consciousness, but pure awareness. It is not a two-step process.
Actually, then what?
So who am I is not a verbal inquiry. Who am I is not an verbal inquiry. You can see it. Who, as per Ramana Maharshi, it is just basically you're finding out internally, am I aware? It is non-verbal. It's not a question. It's not a question you have to find out answer. Who am I? It is just meant. Just you're trying to go into yourself. See, am I aware? That is what you're trying to find out. So it's not a two-step process in this. It is one-step process.
You talk about two.
Who am I and am I aware are not two different questions. It's the same question phrased in two different ways. Who am I? Question, many people start giving a verbal answer. They start saying, I am Brahman, I am Sakshi, all those things. Verbal answer will come. That's not the answer. I am awareness is also a verbal answer, but I am awareness is not from memory. I am awareness is I am aware. That's actually a spontaneous answer.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So the question is, I am aware. I am aware. I may say spontaneously, but you may still think that I am aware is my property of my body. Okay, so that's why Ramana Maharshi's teaching is only for advanced seekers who have understood what is not body, mind, and intellect. Ramana Maharshi doesn't say that the question "Who am I?" is for all the seekers. Okay, Ramana Maharshi says it's for advanced seekers. So those who have already understood everything in spirituality, they have understood, they have Viveka and Vairagya developed, they have matured. For them, who am I inquiry works, not everybody. So they have understood not the body, not the mind, all those things, the object and subject relationship, all those they have understood. It is not that somebody who doesn't understand, who thinks the awareness is the property of the body, if you ask the question, you will get the same answer. So when Ramana Maharshi is the self-inquiry, Ramana Maharshi himself says, this path of self-inquiry is for more advanced souls, seekers, not for everybody. So the being, Nisargadatta Maharaj's being in I am and self-abidance, are they both same or different? It is different because I am is also reflected consciousness. It's an image. The feeling of I am is not the self. The feeling of I am is a reflection, Chidabhasa. So staying in I am feeling is not same as abiding in the self. Initially, you may think that you are abiding in the self by staying in I am, but it's not. The self cannot be a feeling, cannot be object. Self is not a thought, not a feeling, not a emotion. So pure I am, when you are there, it's a thoughtless, feelingless abidance. It's a stillness. So now abiding in I am is not same as abiding in the self. Abiding in the self is reality. Abiding in I am is in reflection. I am is the reflection, Chidabhasa. So the question is, self-abidance means self is abiding in itself all the time. No, you are not. No, you are thinking the body as the self. So you are abiding in the non-self.
That is just a thought, but
yeah, but
awareness is always there.
That's why for the people who have the thought only is the question answer is given. If you are already abiding in self, there's no teaching required.
So that means it is like bringing the attention from body, mind to you self.
Correct.
So here that question again comes, that attention part, which I asked you earlier also.
So you said abiding in the self. Self is abiding in itself. Then what is the point of asking abiding in the self? Self is abiding in itself, but you are not aware. You think body is the self, the mind is the self, intellect is the self. So you are abiding in non-self. When you say you, which is the mind, okay, the Chidabhasa, is abiding in the non-self. Okay, it's identified non-self as the self, the body, mind, and intellect. So the point of saying abiding in self is take your attention from the non-self to self. So then in the pure awareness, you stay there, and that is called abiding in self. Then you're actually separating out the non-self from the self. Then it is called abiding in the self. Self abides in itself all the time, but because of the illusion, the Chidabhasa or reflected consciousness, it abides in the non-self. To bring back the attention back to the real self, the teaching is given, abide in the self. The question asked is, who wants to abide in the self? The self wants to abide in the self. Who is the self? The reflected consciousness is nothing but original consciousness reflected in the mind. Now, that is the self, Chidabhasa. The Chidabhasa has forgotten its original nature as the pure self or Atma. Now, how can reflection ask for, wants to abide in the self? Reflection is, this reflection you should not consider as reflection in the mirror. Reflection in the mirror is insentient, jada. Okay? Chidabhasa is not jada. Chidabhasa is conscious reflection.
Reflection of consciousness.
Reflection of consciousness, it's conscious only. It's consciousness only, it's not jada. Body is jada, mind is jada, mirror is jada. But reflection is not jada. Reflection is conscious. So it's almost like saying, okay, in your you imagine, okay, you imagine you're going in a forest, okay. In forest, there's a tiger chasing you and you start running. So then in that imagination, you start feeling tensed up. Okay, now in imagination, you have created a person and you are walking. So that is the reflection. The Chidabhasa getting reflected in the mind means equivalent of imagination of consciousness. It's the consciousness only. It's not a reflection like a reflection in the mirror. Reflection in the mirror is jada.
Yeah.
Here the consciousness or self itself is imagining that I have identified the body.
Consciousness identifying how it can identify. It can't identify.
That whole consciousness has a creative ability. The consciousness has the ability to create.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It has imagined a world, imagined a person, and it has imagined that I am that person. That imagination is called reflection. So it's not reflection like a reflection in the mirror. It is that imagination of the consciousness or Chaitanyam, because of the Maya, it identifies with the body.
Here one is imagination, another is identification, or both are same. Huh?
In imagination, there's a projection which is happening, the world and the body.
Yes.
Okay. And then to experience the world, you have to say that I am that body. That's also a part of forgetting the self, forgetting I am the self and identifying the body. It exactly happens like a dream world. In the dream, there's a projection happen, first level. Then you are there in the projection. Then the person who is sleeping itself has become the dream character, forgetting that he is the person who is sleeping. So that is the reflection we are speaking of, not like a reflection in the mirror. So then who is seeking liberation? The dream character is seeking liberation. Who is the dream character? Is none other than the person who is sleeping.
It's made up of that.
Yeah. So when you say abide in the self, who is trying to abide in the self? Self is trying to abide in itself. Self has identified with the non-self. The Chidabhasa or reflective consciousness has identified with the body and its non-self. It is not comfortable. So it says, I want to go back to my original self. So the self identifies itself. That's why self is, mind does not recognize the self. Self recognizes itself. That's called Pratyabhijnana. What is the difference between the ego and Chidabhasa? So the ego is that I am feeling, I am thought, right? It's a feeling. Now, you cannot separate out the feeling from the reflection, because unless that consciousness is there, you cannot, unless there's a consciousness, that I am feeling cannot be known. So it's like mirror and reflection cannot be separated out in that sense. So that I am feeling and reflection, Chidabhasa, happening together.
I am feeling is Chidabhasa.
No, I am feeling is a thought. I am feeling is thought, because feeling appears and disappears in the presence of consciousness. They are actually tightly linked. Chidabhasa and I am feeling. The I am feeling is conscious. The feeling I am feeling is there. That is object for me. It is a thought. Okay.
That is ego.
That is the ego. So now the Chidabhasa is the reflection of that, and that Chidabhasa is seeking. Chidabhasa identifies with all of the subsequent thoughts. I am body thought, I am mind thought. It's because it's a reflection, always takes the form of the reflecting surface. So Chidabhasa is uncomfortable because it's originally from the consciousness. The Chidabhasa is seeking the source.
In terms of dream, if I consider myself,
If your question is, if I dream I am a Gita, a girl, so that Gita, when you identify with that character, you become the subject. You start thinking I am Gita.
yes.
Okay, because you don't know there is I am is separate from Gita, the object. The subject and object have become one. The reflection and the reflecting surface has become one. Unless you separate yourself out from that object, they are one entity, and that one entity is called the Jiva.
Can I say, sir, like I am is Chidabhasa and I am Gita?
Your question is, can I say I am feeling is there and I am feeling is Chidabhasa? No. See, I am feeling and Chidabhasa are very closely linked. The reflecting surface and mirror are very closely linked. In your mirror, there's a reflection. The reflection cannot be separated from the mirror.
But in that reflection, actually, we have the other characters also. And
No. Now we are speaking of before any other character comes. The I am feeling has come. Okay, I am feeling has two aspects: the Chidabhasa and a thought. These two have got mixed up. Okay, so that is actually what you call a Jiva.
So I am feeling and the thought you are telling. I am feeling is a thought only.
That I am feeling is a thought, but I am feeling is activated by the consciousness present on that.
So what is a mirror actually? That mirror is actually mind. You are telling. You told that.
So we are asking the question: what is mirror? A reflecting surface. The I am feeling is the mirror. The consciousness falling on that makes it appear, illuminate. So now
you told clearly that I am is a reflection of the consciousness in the mirror. That's how you told, no?
No. The I am feeling is, see, the consciousness cannot be, the consciousness cannot know itself without a reflection. The consciousness requires obstruction to find, see itself. I have given the example of a space. You are going in a space. Okay, in the space, if you look out of the window, you see darkness only. Even the sun is behind you. Why you are seeing darkness? Because sunlight requires a obstruction to our eyes cannot see the direct sunlight. The direct sunlight is not visible to us. Sunlight has to be obstructed. The reflection has to be seen.
It is true only for light, no?
No, that's true for Chidabhasa also, the consciousness also. So what happens in the outer space? There's no reflecting surface. There's no dust. That's why total darkness is there. Even the sun is shining behind. In Earth, we see the sunlight because sunlight is getting reflected through various surfaces, dust particles. So that's why we see the sunlight. The consciousness, pure consciousness, or the self or Brahman, there's no obstruction at all. So there's nothing to be seen.
Nothing to be seen, but knowing is there.
Then knowing, there's nothing to know.
It knows itself. No?
There's nothing to know. It's, see, when there's nothing to see, nothing to know.
Nothing to know, awareness knows itself.
There's nothing to know itself. See, awareness is there. That's all, is existence. The moment it knows itself, okay, there is a knowledge coming to picture. Knowledge is momentary. It is neither knows, it is beyond knowing or not knowing. It is of the nature of knowing. But there's nothing called a knowledge there. It is pure knowing. It's like asking sun, my dear son, have you seen darkness? I have not seen darkness. I don't know what is darkness. Have you seen light? No, I don't know. I am light. So the awareness is self-effulgent. There is nothing called knowledge and ignorance in that. So the knowledge and ignorance is always with respect to object. The awareness, when it falls on an object, okay, now there's no physical object possible in the awareness, the consciousness. There's nothing is there.
Just imagine.
It is only imagination. That imagination of consciousness is called Maya or projection. In that, there's something else is there. The feeling of something else is there, appears. So that something else is called I am.
Feeling of something else.
Something other than me, I have to create. No, the consciousness has to see something else other than me to see. Okay. There is no other, non-dual. The awareness is non-dual. Okay. The duality has to happen. The duality is, the imagination has to happen that there's something, somebody else or something is there other than me. So that first feeling, for that to happen, I exist feeling has to come. I exist. Then something else exists. That I exist feeling is called I am. And that I am feeling is called Chidab. That I am feeling, already there is a reflection has happened in that feeling. I am.
No, this, when you said part of the story, I understood. When you came to the status with,
I exist. A feeling of I exist has to appear first. Okay. The moment I exist, the manifestation already happened. I exist feeling has created a manifestation. So that means the object has arisen already. The object is thought.
I am thought.
I am thought. And that I am is nothing but I exist. I am. What is the meaning of I am? I means consciousness. I am means existence. I exist. The consciousness exists.
So before that imagination, only I exist.
No. Before that imagination, there's no question of existence and non-existence, awareness or non-awareness. There's nothing. It's pure.
Knowing.
No, knowing is there, but there's nobody to know.
Yeah, but knowing is there.
It's a light. Nature itself, light itself is the awareness is pure light. So there's nothing called special knowing, because the moment say knowing, you think bringing the concept of a thought. There's no thought there. It's pure light. Pure. That's nature is that awareness is light, effulgence. So whose nature is knowing. Okay, but there's nothing to know. Everything is awareness only. So that awareness becomes aware of its existence. I exist. The moment it becomes aware of I exist is a thought, which is I am. So that I am thought shines in the light of awareness. That I am thought should be visible now. That visibility of I am thought happens because of reflection. So this reflection or Chidabhasa. So now the Chidabhasa and I exist together is one entity. It becomes one entity. Now, this entity, Chidabhasa, I am, so it does not know it came from the pure awareness, because pure awareness is not a visible entity. Pure awareness is not visible, it's not an object. So this I am thought will start conceptualizing, oh, body, mind, and world, more concepts will arise. So it identifies the concept called body.
Here you told I am is a feeling, I am a thought, but there is.
How, if I am is a feeling, then more creativity, more imagination. So more bodies, it's all bodies and world, all those imaginations appear. So that is a creativity, that's Maya. So then you identify the object rather than the subject, pure awareness.
So there are, first is pure awareness and then the body mind comes. So the reverse also is the same. That
see, there's a pure awareness, then there's a projection. Okay, I am feeling, and then projection of other bodies. So then there's identification of the body, and reverse is from the projection, you drop the projection, go to pure I am and pure awareness. The reverse process.
So coming back to that question, self-abidance. When you say that self is only abiding with self always, now you have to bring attention from other body and from the body and mind to your original self.
Correct.
So this attention, bringing out back the attention. What it means by bringing back the attention? Like that, stopping all the thoughts and everything.
No. See,
samadhi, you have to go like this.
No, there's no samadhi. See, the question is about self-abidance. Abidance means self is already abiding in itself. Self is non-dual, so it is abiding in itself. Now the person who has manifested, who has come in the dream, right, Maya, he wants to go back to the self. So he has to abide in self. But now he is abiding in non-self. He is identifying the body, mind. Now, what is the meaning of abiding in the self for the person? So for him, he has to separate out logically what is changing and what is not changing. The self is unchanging reality. Self is not an object. So that discrimination has to develop through logic. The discrimination is called viveka. It's not a physical separation. And when you do the discrimination, all subtle objects you remove. Okay? Through discrimination. Subtle object is thought, feeling, emotions, you logically you remove. Actually, initially it's very gross level, then it goes to subtle level, subtle level. So 3 levels are there: gross, subtle, and causal. Gross is body, sensations. Subtle is thought and feelings. At causal level is idea. Idea, I am a body. Idea is there. So all this you drop. Drop logically by separation. It's called Atma Anatma Viveka. What is self? What is non-self? Nitya Anitya Viveka. What is temporary? What is permanent? Then you recognize yourself as pure awareness, which is not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, which is not an object. So basically, you are removing logically all the objects associated, you are associating. Okay, this removal or called neti process, it happens in the intellect only, buddhi only. Okay, so then you reject all the things which are not self. Then the buddhi itself is not there because that's also an object, the intellect. Then what you are there is pure awareness.
In between, there is a step, no, that where I feel not the body, mind, intellect, but I am that.
No, that you are mixing up now. See, this is the third method. Neti. There are 3 methods we discussed.
First discrimination starts with that I am not the body,
and
I am not the mind. Then at a subtler level, that idea also goes off. Either it is like the gross level we started with subtler we
Yeah.
So you told me earlier that there is a gateway like there is a I am feeling. That is also an idea. That has to go, and then only you can go into pure awareness.
Right.
So that I am this one, that feeling, that is also part of that process.
Correct.
So that I am has also to go.
Right.
So now in Nisargadatta Maharaj, when he says that I am that. So okay, so as much as possible you are in the I am. What is the actual method? How it reaches to the?
No, this is same. See, you're asking the question. See, there are 3 approaches. Okay, Ramana Maharshi's approaches find out who am I. That's a direct path.
Yeah.
So you have to recognize that you are awareness. It's called self-recognition directly. So that's for people who already done all this background work.
But who am I itself says, this question itself says that you don't know who I am.
No. The who am I is, the question itself is a non-verbal inquiry to eliminate everything else and straight away go to the self. Who am I has no answer.
Is it who am I not a process of discrimination of non-self from self?
So that the discrimination neti is told as a Vedantic process. So it's in a sense it's a discrimination process. But who am I question has no answer. It's a silence is the answer. The pure awareness is the answer. So who am I question, you cannot find an answer as an object.
Yeah.
But you can recognize yourself as awareness. When you remove all the objects, then pure awareness, stillness is the self. Okay, now that's one process. Who am I? Then second process, Nisargadatta process is 2-step process. To stay as I am first, and then even that I am also is dropped. That's also the elevation process only. Neti only. For I am the body, I am mind, I am intellect, all those things. So you are actually, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. You are so many things you are associated. So you eliminate, just stay as I am, then eliminate that I am also, then stay as pure awareness.
Eliminate the I am.
Because I am is also an object. So I'm not the object. I am the sakshi of that object. I'm the witness of the object. The one who knows I am the one who knows One who is aware of I am as the object is a pure subject. I am appears and disappears. No, the I am appears in the morning and disappears in the night. But I, the pure I, who is aware of this, doesn't appear and disappear. That's the Sakshi.
Again, is it a step-by-step process, or because I am is always I am aware of? So only is that at the sleep I am not aware. So as that day you told that can also discrimination can happen.
No. See, all this. See, these are all only one thing which is told in many ways. It's like all this.
But you stay no stages like that first.
No, that's only stages is only for you to stages is only for you to understand. Others is all elimination process only. Neti process only. Whether you do in 2 steps or 3 steps or quickly.
Is it like that? That first I have to get out of that. Okay, I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. Okay, I have reached. Now next is that I have to go through that. I am is not there. Or is it like that? I am.
It is an elimination process. Whether you do in 1 step or 2 steps or 3 steps, depending on your maturity. It's a neti process. So Nisargadatta Maharaj, stay as I am. Okay, then you have to stay as a boss. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect. I am. So now, who is this I am? The I am also is appearing and disappearing. I am the witness. The pure I am is the witness of I am.
That is like a conclusion, like derivation of from the.
It's only logical. All this happens at the intellect level only.
So we can't have a directly experience of that.
The I am is not, the pure I is not an experience. The pure I is not a, pure I is the absence of all experiences. Because in pure I is non-dual. So there's nothing called experience of self because you experience the self all the time. It's a non-dual experience. See, any experience which appears and disappears is dual. I experience a mango, it appears and its taste is lasting for some time. But self is non-dual. There is no experiencer and experienced. It's always there. So in your language, it's not an experience because self-experience and experienced is not separate. So elimination of all temporary experiences leads to that pure experience, which is non-dual, which is not an experience from the worldly point of view, but it's the only real experience from the reality point of view. The subject and object are non-dual, one. That is called aparoksha anubhuti or direct experience.
Fruit. Then the fruit, when I say, okay, what is that fruit? Okay, no, I will show you that apple and this is a fruit. If I say mango, I will show that, okay, this is a fruit. So this fruit refers to this apple and mango. Similarly, this I, whenever we speak of I, we say always that, okay, I am this body or I am not this body, I am this mind, I am not this mind. I'm saying I am awareness, I am that knowing, I am that being. But what that I itself means actually, when I say I, that feeling of I is there. So what is that I itself? So that is the point, no? Not see, like what I is actually is. Like not like that I, no, you are not body, you are not mind, you are awareness.
See, this is
but
that
what is that I?
That I is none of this. So this is all self-realization all about. We use the word everything apple, we give a name apple, and apple is an object. So and everything is a name and form and name are associated. Whereas I use the word I. I is also a pronoun. Apple is a noun. I is a pronoun, means first person noun. So I use the word I. So I use the word I for body. I use the word for mind. I use the word for variable. What is I actually means? But yeah. So we are actually using I for many things. Unlike any object, a name and form is closely associated. So I, what it means is a transaction. In reality, it's a transaction. Okay. See, first thing you have to understand, the language is defective. The language is completely defective. Everything in the world is a verb. There's no nouns in the world because everything is continuously changing. There cannot be a noun. The whole making the noun itself is a mistake because it gives an identity that something is there. For example, river is a verb. Water is flowing. The flowing water is called river. There's nothing called river. A river, the moment you say river, it gets frozen in the mind as an entity. So river is moving. Its movement is called river. Is there something called mind? There's nothing called mind. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. What is body? There's nothing called body. Body is a flow of sensation. Right? Everything is a flow. So the moment I say body, the word called, the flow of sensation is called body. It's continuous changing, right? The sensation of flows, let us take the body itself. The body started at in your birth, the sensation started. It undergoes changes. It keeps on changing. Okay. At any point of time, body sensations are not stationary. They are changing. And at the time of death, probably they stop. So this changing sensation is nothing but a flow. The moment you say body, that flow you are converting into noun.
What is sensation? Is it also a flow? Body is a flow of sensation. What is sensation?
There's nothing called body. Sensation is the body.
But the sensation is changing.
Yeah, changing sensation is the body. So whatever you start dealing the changing sensation as an entity. For example, river, you start saying as a river, Ganga river. There's nothing called Ganga river. Water is flowing is Ringo river.
That's what there water is there. Is water, we can say water, or is it also some
water is also changing? No, the moment see, can you take how many times you can take a bath in the river? You cannot. The moment you dip your body, the river is already changed. The water is changed. For our transactional purpose, we say yes, I am taking a bath in Ganga. It's a for transactional reality. So there is nothing called noun. There is a flow, continuous flow. It is body or mind or intellect, or the ideas, or the world, everything is a flow. There's only verb in the world, right? So now, for dealing purpose, we convert this verb into a noun for the transaction purpose, right? Now, it is okay for transaction, but that's not a reality. So body is also, we have a feeling of solid body. That's because we have converted a verb into a noun, okay? So now when I say I eat, okay, I is a noun. Right? Is there something called I? The noun is not real. The eating is happening. Eating. There's the eating. Okay. Now, eating, seeing. I see means seeing. Okay. So that seeing verb is converted to noun called I. Pronoun. So mind requires something unchanged, or rather we need a reference point. So reference point is called verb, noun. Rivering, I can't understand. Rivering is water is flowing. I can't understand. So I call it as a river. Then deal as if it's as it's the entity. So similarly, mind, there's nothing called mind. Mind is nothing but a flow of thoughts. Okay, flow of thoughts. What is that flow of thoughts? I can't understand it. So I call it as a mind. Then I start thinking, oh, I have mind. I have mind is a problem. Okay. Mind, there cannot be any entity called mind. It's a flow. So similarly, when I say I eat, okay, we bring the word I at every point. For example, I walk. So the body is walking. The change of position of the body is called walking. So then say I walk. You are bringing a subject to bring a concept of what I call as that walking is a continuous activity. Walking is a movement. In that you break into a subject and object. The subject is called I, which is not real, which is a pseudo entity. It's a conceptual entity. So now if you really inquire, there's no I anywhere. The real something called I, just like something you really inquire, there's nothing called mind. Because mind is flow of thoughts. Thoughts appear and disappear. What is that mind? So the flow of thought appears to be like a stream because it's appearing so fast. So then the stream you call as mind.
There is something connecting like the thought. Thought are changing. If it is all are discrete, there must be something connecting all.
No, there's a discrete only. They are discrete only. There's discrete only. Okay, all those are discrete. Okay, everything in the world is discrete, just changing. Now, changing also one thing you have to understand. When something changes into something, the world is dead. The past is not there. So if one thought appears and next thought appears, it is not that one thought has got modified to next thought. The past thought is dead and new thought has appeared. Okay, when we speak of change, something does not change into something else. The old disappears and new appears. in case of thought, a old thought dies and a new thought appears. Okay, now where it is appearing from? Is there a base? Is there a reference? That base or reference is the awareness. Into the awareness is the foundation into which is appearing and disappearing.
Awareness is a flow.
No, awareness is not a flow.
Or is it a verb?
Awareness is not a flow. Awareness is neither flow, neither verb, nor flow. Because it's this verb and noun, all these things appears in the objective world.
When we say knowing, so what
Then
is
knowing
is also
no, knowing is you are also converting into more of a language of your objective world.
instead of using knowledge, I use the word knowing.
No, I'm saying all those things you are using in the language of the objective world. Awareness is just a light. Okay, awareness is called Atma Jyoti, the light of self.
There's no flow or change or anything.
Nothing. But because that light is always there, you feel as if there is a continuity between these various things. Because the screen is there, the movie appears to be continuous. The continuity is not because of the movie. Continuity is because of the screen, awareness. Now, a screen here, awareness is not an object. So you cannot call it as a noun. You cannot call it as a pronoun. Or you cannot call it as a verb. Because it's non-manifest. It is not in the domain of the manifestation. So because of that, if you start finding I is not there. All I is what you consider is just a temporary. So I walk. Okay, I walk. I has taken the form of body. The screen has become the body. The screen called awareness has become the body, because without screen, the movie cannot happen. So they are one. So the body is moving. You say screen is I. But the moment body changes, the moment you eat food, I am eating. Okay, the moment you say I see, the screen becomes seeing. The awareness is like in the background all the time. It doesn't change. But because the changing object you are superimposing on that unchanging, and that unchanging, you don't know it's an object. It's not an object. You call it as I.
Why I call it as I?
How to deal? No, your mind is such a way that it requires. Otherwise, mind cannot function. The whole functioning of the Maya world is by making a flow into objects.
So that means I am awareness is wrong.
Even see, this is what I'm saying. I am awareness is also a thought. This thought is used for, see, any jnana is also in the domain of the mind. Okay. Atma does not require any jnana. All understanding is happening in the domain of the intellect only. So only thing is wrong understanding is replaced with the right understanding. And finally, right understanding and wrong understanding both will become silent. That's all. So it's like the example is the wrong understanding is like a disease. So for disease, you give a medicine. So disease, let's say somebody has taken poison. Okay. So for the poison, you have to give a treatment. Okay. The treatment is also another poison. So the poison is removing the poison. So then finally, after removing the poison, still you can't keep the poison inside the medicine. Both will be gone. So similarly, Adnana is there. Adnana is wrong understanding of life. So wrong understanding of life, basic wrong understanding of life is everything verb converted into noun. That's the basic fundamental problem. Verb, everything is flowing. That you are converted into noun. Okay, then you see that the seer of this is also a noun. A subject is there. That's not a subject, it's a light, awareness, Atma Jyoti. So now you convert Atma Jyoti also into one object. Okay, so this objectification is the problem. Because mind, the mind cannot process the continuous flow of data. It says, okay, it has to freeze. Okay, this much. So and also the discrete events it cannot understand. The discrete events, when they come fast, it appears like it's moving. So there are two things happening. One is the entire life, everything in life is continuous movement. Okay. The movement is not one object becoming another object. One object appearing and disappearing. Another object appearing and disappearing. One thought appearing and disappearing. Like movie only. Now this gives a sense of continuity. And then in continuity, you start saying, oh, these things are happening. There must be a seer. Or this is the...
When you say
let me complete. Okay. So this is what is happening. There you point out somebody is called subject. The subject is there. A temporary subject is there. When you're eating, the body is eating. Okay. But that body eating something, body is the subject. No doubt about it. At that moment. But the body is not a permanent subject. So the body goes. So then seeing happens. The eyes become the subject. I become the eye. So what is constant in all of this is the screen only. The objects keep changing. So then what you are pointing as I is the screen, which is awareness, which is not an object. This is the confusion. So that's why you have to eliminate all the objects. Then what remains is a pure awareness, which is not a subject. Now it's neither subject nor an object.
When you say the nouning of the verb, like the sleeping, seeing, going, activities, all the actions, flow, we are making it as noun. It applies to object, but for subject also.
Yeah, subject is what is there is nothing called so noun, making the noun object appears to object. So it appears to subject also. It appears to subject also because subject and object cannot be separated out. So you are seeing an apple. Can you see an apple without your eyes? Okay, whether can you see the apple? Is there an apple without a thought? So all the subject which is called thought and object called apple cannot be separated out. It's a one entity.
Subject.
See, when you say subject and object, then when you say subject, it's a thoughts, feelings, emotions, all this called subject. And object is something which is there, which I can't thought, feel, touch. It's separate from me. But they are not separate from you. They are not separate from the thought, feeling, emotion. If you say apple, apple is a thought in you. Thought and apple cannot be separated out. Okay. So what applies to object applies to subject only. Both their subject and object are one entity. You are only giving, notionally we are separating it out.
So that is true if, because I consider myself as a feeling, as a thought, as a body, as a mind. But if I consider myself as an awareness.
See, simply you have to consider as flowing. That's all. Feeling, thought, emotions, you are not you. You are just a flow.
So, but to consider that also, somebody has to do that. No?
There is no somebody. That somebody itself is a misnomer.
So that when that ignorance comes in mind, no, I am doing, I do that. I feel like no, I have to come back to the knowledge that no, this is all happening. Right? This is all happening. And there is no I in that. So that I mean, normally everywhere we say like I am not the body, I am not the mind. So who are you? I am pure awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. Verbally I understand. Okay, because that is the only way to express itself. But this is a wrong this one. No? Better to say that like Buddha says in Buddhism they say there is no I.
See, it is you can say in so many ways. There is no I. It all depends on what person can. Some people understand this way. Some people understand some way. There are different ways of understanding. Okay, you can say there is no I. Then what I am doing, you will ask.
No, that is because from inside, if I understand it.
Inside, see, you can always say anatta, no self.
Yeah.
Then who am I? What is that happening? So you have to take the person from where he is to where he is not, where he doesn't understand.
What you answered is the reply. No? If you say that, okay, anatta means who am I?
No,
okay,
no. See, so
don't
let us not discuss about the various methods of teaching. Each is a method of teaching in itself.
Method of teaching. Yeah. But when somebody says there is a Atma, there is a
Correct.
consciousness,
Correct.
which is always present.
Correct.
And everything
that is
a changeless thing.
That is a perfect.
Buddha when they say
No. See, please.
nothing,
You are mixing up the Buddha's teaching and Sanatana Vedanta. They are teaching same thing in different way. So Buddha says anatma. Okay, anatta. Okay, anatta and anatma is not same. Atma is self. He didn't speak about self. He spoke about a phenomena. Okay, phenomena means objects.
Correct. No, what you told that moving, everything is moving. There is no.
But he didn't speak about screen. The screen is actually what he calls as nirvana. Okay, he didn't speak about that. He spoke about only the objects, anatta, non-self of nature of the objects. That Vedanta also says anatma, atma you separate out. So Vedanta is saying anatma is not the end, atma is there, which is pure awareness. So Buddha does not speak about that.
But what you told, sir, was exactly what Buddha says. That there is no I.
No. There is no I.
There is only phenomena only going on.
No. Phenomena, if you remove, there is awareness, which is not an I, which is not an object. It is not a subject. Okay. So now we don't have any way of denoting it. We call it as Brahman or awareness or Turiya. We can call it some name. But see, what happens is many of the people wrongly understood Buddha's teaching.
But that awareness which you say background, that is not I.
that you are pointing out as I. You are pointing out the screen as I.
That is wrong. There is no I. No? How can we? You, as you told, there is a phenomena going on, and there is a background in that awareness.
Correct.
That
So
okay.
that background is the self of everything. In everything, what is there? Every object, ultimately there is.
Sorry, self. When you say self, no?
Listen carefully. No.
What you say as I.
Listen carefully. No. Listen carefully. See, when you, so you are asking the question, there is no I at all, right? So there is no objective I. There's a pure awareness, which is the subject, is the ultimate subject of everything.
That is, their awareness is there. But
that pure awareness, no. Either you say, don't say anything. That is called Atma in Vedanta. Atma means, Atma is not I. Atma is, the meaning of Atma is essence of everything.
Atma means this one, sir.
No. That's, no. That's your understanding. That's your understanding. Atma means essence of everything. Atma, apnoti iti Atma. The real meaning of Sanskrit meaning of Atma is the essence of anything is called Atma. Essence of me is Atma. Now, essence of the world is also Atma, because world cannot exist without this body-mind complex. The essence of a body-mind complex is Atma. That's why Atma is the essence of the world also. So when you say Atma is the essence of the world, Atma is denoted by the verb called, noun called, pronoun called I, denoted by. There's not confusion. That's very clear.
When you say Atma, if I say Atma Hatya, Atma Kata,
no. That's all corruption. That's all confusion of the language. Okay, a person who has learned a teaching from the master will never get confused. So you cannot pick up a teaching from some book and patch up two teachings and say I understood something. So learn from one book, learn from one author, learn from this thing and say I understood teaching. No. You have to go through an entire set of teaching. A Vedanta is a completely a system. So Buddhism is also a system. So now Buddhism teaching a part you take and Vedanta teaching you take a mix up, you can't happen. There will be confusion. Okay, Buddhism teaching, Buddha says very perfectly, the phenomena is selfless. There's no self in the phenomena. Means there's no center in the phenomena. Now he doesn't say what is beyond phenomena. So that beyond phenomena, what is there is called nirvana. Nirvana means.
Why he doesn't say about awareness?
He speaks about you focus on this much only, eliminate. Why he doesn't say I don't know. But ultimately he speaks eliminate all the object. Then what is there is nirvana. Okay. Can you speak about nirvana? He says nirvana cannot be spoken because nirvana is not an object.
There is one we say, just confirm me that one say that it is not enough that you know what you are not. You should also know what you are.
Correct.
Is correct?
Correct.
So what Buddha says that, no, I am not, this is a phenomena, there is no self in that. He says that, okay, I am not all these things, this is a phenomena. But I am awareness.
See, the teaching, please understand, it is not sufficient to know what you are not. Okay? You have to know what you are also. This is the complete teaching. Right? What you are not and what you are, both you have to learn. So we are speaking of Buddha. Buddha speaks of what you are not continuously. So that's where many Buddhists ended as nihilists. Nihilist means shunya. I am emptiness. So that's not correct. So that's where probably Buddha would have understood rightly, or his disciples would have understood rightly. Over a period of time, it becomes shunya. Because if you keep eliminating what you are not, then what is there is nothingness. Shunya. Okay? Shunya is not what you are. Okay? You are the existence. Because a non-existence cannot speak of anything. So the existence is pure awareness. That's why you have to understand your existence, your awareness. It's not, you're not ending up with shunya.
How do you substantiate about rebirth in Buddhism?
No. We are changing the question. First, understand the Buddhism, or the difficulty with people face Buddhism. Buddhism ended with shunyavada, nihilism. Okay. So nihilism, there are people who say, I am shunya. It's okay. I am shunya as a phenomena is correct. But I am shunya as absolute reality is not correct. Okay. So if you are shunya, there is nothing to discuss, nothing to act. Right? So I am awareness, which is existence. Okay. Shunya means non-existence.
But how can they substantiate? Because see, if I'm nothing, then what all these things and that feeling of I,
No.
how you can able to negate that?
No. You go through entire teaching of Buddhism. You can't speak out partial teaching of Buddhism and speak something.
No,
You go
I'm,
through. You go through.
asking, that's why.
You go through teaching of Buddhism. There's a system itself. They'll explain everything, how it appears and all those things. There are various suktas. There is various sutras. Everything is there.
One more thing, that when they say that there is no self, then who taking the rebirth and birth and rebirth and all
So, okay, in Buddhism, there is no self. Okay. Then who takes the rebirth is a flow. There is no river. Is there a flow? There is a flow. There is a flow of mind which takes a rebirth.
But then why, how Buddha says that I was in this one? See,
Let's see, he speak.
No,
He's.
I will tell you why I'm asking this. So there is, I am there, you are there. Okay. So is you not a two flows? No? It is a single flow, correct? I will not say that this Suresh
See,
is one flow.
no, I will tell you the answer. Why Buddha speaks of Jataka tales, many Jataka tales. Okay. So once you understand reality, it's a flow. It's not individual. But till you understand there's ignorance, you are individual. You have taken so many births.
Okay. But he is explaining it through simple language to Jataka tales. But there is a truth that when he says that I was that at that time.
Correct. He is speaking of the stage when he in ignorance he understood that he is a person.
Correct. So,
now after realization he says he is no nirvana. I'm nobody.
Yeah. But that was a flow.
Correct. That flow is misunderstood as a person.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
So
in ignorance he said
that means there is a different flow here. Everybody is having a different
there's
flow.
no different flow. There's only one flow. The flows are not multiple. You are actually cutting that into multiple flows. That because the mind cannot process all these flows. It says, I am Prabhu, you are you. Actually, when I am speaking and listening, there's no speaker and listener. There are two separate entities. There's one entity. One flow is there.
Yeah, that I understand. And mind is just distributing that I am this Suresh flow and this is flow. But the thing is that when this flow goes, okay, so when Buddha says that I was Narada, okay, why he doesn't say that no, I was some other person? I mean,
he says
was there, some other
he says
was there. So why is not say that I was Brahmaraksha, I was Narada?
No, see, when ignorance, in ignorance, what you understood is that much only. See, you cannot mix up ignorance and knowledge. In knowledge, I am nobody. In ignorance, I was somebody. So if you mix up everything, there is a confusion. You cannot keep changing frames. So frame of reference, I am ignorant, I consider myself person, I was born here, I'm like that. When I have knowledge, I am nobody, I have become free. So you cannot mix up. Then you say I am free, then you cannot say, then you cannot teach people anything. Because so from a person, when he teaches, he has to come to the level of the person, listener, and tell him teach from the point of his reference. So I was born as Narada, I did this, now I am realized, I am enlightened. So like that you have to say. You cannot mix up these two. You cannot keep switching the frame of reference. So the listener, yes, I was Narada. I thought I was Narada. I was born as Jataka tells. I was born as that time he was ignorant. That's why he is doing sadhana.
But when he refers to the past of life and tell it, there must be some. It is a flow. I understand. But what he says. Well, if I ask Buddha, okay, it was a flow. What was the continuity which was giving to that?
He says flow. Flow itself is continuity. The flow of mind has to be stopped. That's what he says.
But sir, flow can't be like a Buddha flow and Ananda flow or anything. No?
Then there
can be a single flow only.
The flow, see, in a stream of water, okay, there's a stream of water. So there are multiple rivers, okay. So they're all flowing, okay. And the stream of Buddha's thought process is becoming purer. So it doesn't get mixed. And also when it's like a, what do you call it? When you are born as dependent arising. It's like you are born, your wife, your children, your family, your experience, all their streams which are related, they'll come together. They are connected streams. So whereas some stream which is not connected to you will appear as a separate. It doesn't come into your perspective. All your experience is one stream. Okay. Now you cannot speak about experience which you don't have experience. It may be different. We don't know about that. So my experience is one stream. Okay. There, my wife is there, my children are there. They're all coming in that stream.
So there is, if you see it as a some individual flow means individual rivers means okay. But you will also agree that it is actually a single flow.
No, no.
Of
See,
all the rivers, all the tributaries on a single
see,
flow.
that is once you are free from the self, then you see as a single flow.
Yes, single flow.
But if you're not free from the self, then you see as a considerable.
That's what I was saying, that okay, it's a single flow actually, but we mind considers that I am a separate flow and this is separate flow, that is a flow.
That's what the ignorance is now.
So that which is considering itself, no, that I am a separate flow, that is a different flow. That one, that mind, that is having an individual identity. No?
See, this is where this is where this thing. No, see, the Buddhism does not speak about the individual identity. It just says with the mind. So that's Vedanta points out that you don't have individual identities. That's why you cannot speak like that. That's Vedanta points out. So it's a limitation of Buddhism, they say. But then we cannot discuss two different systems and say that this system is saying like this system is saying like that. So Buddhism says we are only discussing about a flow of mind, a flow of thoughts as a stream. So in the flow of thought, there's ignorance. Ignorance also flows. I am individual. So Vedanta says behind that there's an awareness, which is a single continuity, single reality, which is there supporting this flow. So Vedanta is pointing out that Buddhism ultimately ended up in nihilism because of this thought process. So Buddhists don't agree. They say this is white. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, a real Buddhist and a real Vedantic.
No, we don't want to judge what is real, what is unreal.
No,
okay.
I'm not telling about real this one. When you say that, I mean,
no,
maybe misinformation.
No. See, don't get into all these things. Okay, if you study Buddhism, study thoroughly. If you study Vedanta, you study Vedanta thoroughly. So what happens is that between two systems, if you keep switching, there will be some flaws because you don't understand other system properly. So in Buddhism, there's very deep logic of why they are speaking. It's very elaborate logic. There are various suktas. There is Dhammapada. There is Tripitaka. Then Diamond Sutra. So many sutras are there. It is satisfactory for that person following the path. Ultimately, if he is satisfied and he is following that path, let him follow. Now, from one system to if he asks another system, the questions will be confusing because their way of thinking is different frame of mind. So whatever frame of mind is suitable for you, follow on that. So for me, Vedanta suits, and Buddhism, I feel to the great extent it is helpful.
I is that means not only flow. Right?
No. Manifestation is a flow. The real I is not a flow. Real I is a non-dual entity. The real I is
what you told is first my question was this. I, when you say, that is referring to body or a mind or consciousness, is different. But actually, when you say I, actually it is actually a flow only. It's not never. It's like a single.
No. There's nothing called individual I. Okay, there is a universal background that's called awareness.
Yeah, universal background awareness.
Okay, that is called I in all your languages. But confused with the body and mind.
No, language, leave it the language. I language, leave it. I am telling aham or I leave it. Only I am telling that feeling is there. No? That see, I have a feeling.
See that there is the only reality which is there. Brahman or awareness is the only reality which is there. So if you say that's also not there, then nothing will be there. It's a nihilism.
Why I feel I?
Huh?
Why I feel I? I mean, there is a feeling of I.
Yeah, because knowing is there. No, you are sentient being. No, the sentience you are calling I. But sentience or knowledge, you are confusing the body and mind. It's not property of body and mind. That's what Vedanta is pointing out.
That sentience is that knowing part, that consciousness, that awareness is not a knowing. It's not like single. No?
You are mixing up things. The phenomena, the objective world is a multiple thoughts. And thoughts themselves are not knowing. Thoughts are lit up, illuminated.
Yes.
By awareness.
Correct.
Okay, there's a knowing in that. So when you say I, you are referring to the body or mind as if it's knowing.
Yes.
Okay, so Vedanta says body and mind cannot know. The knowing is coming from awareness, which is not an object, which is not a subject. Okay, it is the light of self. That illumination is giving a feeling that I know. Now that is a wrong understanding. So you are creating a center and saying this is I, but the real I is pure knowing, pure light, pure awareness.
Again, this I is referring to that pure awareness.
I should, but you are not referring. No, you are always confusing the body and mind. No.
Correct. But again, that is reference only. What is that I then? I now shifting from body mind to consciousness or awareness.
See, when you speak of I, the I means knowing principle. It's a knowing principle you are referring to as I. In the language, when you speak of I, a sentience or knowing principle you are referring as I. So Vedanta is only pointing out that knowing principle is not an object at all. So that's why yourself or the knowing principle is Atma or Brahman, which is awareness or knowing principle. So now if you call it as knowing principle, okay. That's why Pradnana Brahma, awareness is Brahman. So if you don't want to use the word I, it's okay.
No, I don't want to this one. This is not a question of wanting or not wanting, but that feeling is always there. That I is always there, no feeling. If I go anywhere,
that's what I'm saying. That I, what I am going, I am coming is all related to body. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the real I. Real I doesn't go, doesn't come.
If I unrelate it with body or mind, still that I will be there or not?
Which I?
That I.
Of course it's there. It's always there.
Always be there.
No, I feeling is always there, but it's wrongly pointing to body and mind.
Yeah, if I not pointed to body mind, then what?
Then there's no feeling. Just pure awareness.
But I will be there, feeling will not be there.
No. I feeling will not be there. Feeling is object. Object is appearing in awareness. So feeling, don't confuse the real I or Brahman, awareness. Brahman or awareness is not a thought, not a feeling, it's a light. That's why it's always called it as Atma Jyoti, light of the self. It's a light. In the light, some object appears, disappears. Thought appears, disappears. Feeling appears, disappears. But nothing happens to the light. So Vedanta is saying there is a light called awareness.
That's why I'm telling that, can I conclude that I is not an awareness? I is not at all there, only awareness is there. Can I say that?
That awareness only is called I, no? See, when you are referring to I as a name. So what is that name? The real name is awareness. So it's like you are saying, in Kannada we say, Ali Allah Magal Ganda. So when you refer the word I, you are referring to I am a knowing principle. So the knowing principle you are confusing with body and mind. Vedanta says it's not body and mind. The real knowing principle is not a object. That's all it's saying.
I mean subject. I is beyond this object.
I means?
I is subject or I is beyond this object.
I is beyond object and subject. No, I is the light. It's neither object nor a subject. But all object and subject appear in that. There cannot be any object or subject without that light.
Because when we say subject, when there is an object.
I is the subject. Subject, when we refer to subject, we are, see, the object is there. Apple is object. I am the subject. I am experiencing the object. The experiencer we call as subject. And the experienced we call as object. Experienced is the object and the experiencer is the subject. Okay? But the real subject is beyond experiencer and experienced. That's awareness. Okay? That is the knowing principle, the light, which illuminates subject and object. So it's neither subject nor object. But from subject point of view, there's the only subject, which is knowing principle.
Stream is flowing. Why that feeling is there?
And that feeling is also another stream. Feeling is also another thought process. So everything is a thought process. So this is what is called Maya.
The feeling that I came inside, that is also a thought.
Correct. Nobody came, nobody went.
Is somebody sitting here?
Nobody sitting here. So it's all
flow.
It's all, see, it's like almost like, we can give only analogy, explanation. You go to a 3D movie. 3D movie that the hero is there, heroine is there, villain is killed by the hero. If you ask, nobody is killed by nobody.
But sir, when you say flow, there is something was there and now it has changed to something. And another thing you say that no, there was not something, nothing was there before.
No, thing means object.
Yeah, there was no thing there. But how it can both combine? This is online. Now I say
See,
that,
the answer cannot be given. Either you can give answer in the objective. How the Maya is there, nobody can explain. Okay, either you understand that this is Maya and get out of it. So step-by-step explanation, there can be a very step-by-step explanation. So initially Atma is there, then thoughts came. So
you understood, sir, what I was asking you? What I was asking you is that when you say it's a flow only, so like I came inside and
that's what I'm saying. See, that's where there's a lot of detailed explanation can be given. Okay, that explanation is only as good as another explanation. Then you will ask another question on that explanation.
That's not the flow itself will.
So you'll ask another question on that. So actually, the pure consciousness there. In pure consciousness, the concept of space came. The space, the objects came, atoms came. Atoms started moving. Like that, you can give a lot of things can happen. It's step-by-step explanation. So the step-by-step explanation, okay, step-by-step explanation, you can also is explanation. But right now, if you want to step-by-step, there's a lot of detailed step-by-step explanation also. Right? They are all some explanations at some level. But ultimately, you understand the transcendental reality and absolute reality and get out of transcendental.
Absolutely. This is what I was asking you. When you say that I am not this body, mind, I am not like a noun. Actually, it's a verb. It's a movement. It's a single movement in where there is no identification with anything. It is everything is a flow, is a phenomena. But thing is that if any phenomena is there, you also say that what happened earlier, there was nothing happened earlier.
No. Like see, please understand, don't mix up multiple domains. When you speak of one domain, you speak in domain. In the domain of a domain, I am a person, you are a person, we are going, we are acting, and all those things. Now, in the absolute domain, this is all, nothing is there. So if you start mixing up these two, then you cannot discuss anything. So it's like a dream. In your dream, your tiger started chasing and you went into forest, you hid behind and tiger started eating you and you died also. Now you say, if I tell you there's no tiger, there's no eating, then you start asking, how did the tiger come? So there was never a tiger, I'll say. Then you are mixing up the domain. When you are understanding the forest or dream domain, speak in that language. When you come out of the dream level, you speak in other language. So when I say there is a flow, I am speaking from the absolute level, there is a flow. And is the flow real? It's not real.
The flow is also not real.
Not real. So now you say, come back and say, I was a person, I had last life, I was like this life. Then you are speaking in the dream perspective. Then stay in the dream perspective. If you mix up these two, then there's nothing, no discussion can happen. So in your dream, was there a tiger? Yes, there is a tiger. Are you running? Yes. Is tiger is trying to eat you? Yes, it's true. Okay. Now I'll tell you, for a dream I come and tell you, hey, it's a flow. The tiger and you are same. There's nothing, you and tiger. Then you ask question, how did tiger come? How did I come? You ask. There's one flow called dream. So then one flow called dream, I'm still seeing the tiger, you're saying. No, you're still seeing there. Then you wake up. Then if you wake up, there's no tiger, there's no you.
You wake up happens.
Right. But then you say, it's a flow. How did the flow come if you ask? You cannot answer because you are seeing the tiger only.
Here the concept of time is coming. That's why this
time is also another flow. Everything in the world is a flow.
No, flow means because of time, flow is coming. No?
There's nothing called time. There's nothing called space. Nothing is there.
That flow is also not.
That flow is also not there. So you have to explain in somewhere, and then you say go beyond that. You get out of this. You wake up from the dream. You wake up from the dream. There's neither tree, neither tiger, nor the forest. Nothing is there. If you are in the dream, everything is there. So from dream to wake up, you give an explanation. Oh, then tiger is coming. You are coming. So you are one flow. Where is the one flow? You last. You wake up. If you wake up, there's no flow.
Concepts.
So a concept is given for you to come out of the concept. So there is something which I will tell you about the flow. This we can relate to quantum physics. In quantum physics, the quantum physics, this thing, light can exist as a wave or a particle. Where does the wave exist? Wave exists everywhere. Okay. The moment it says particle, it becomes an electron. This thing. So this is called dual nature of matter. The matter can exist as a wave or a particle. So now when does the wave become particle? The moment you do an observation, the wave becomes a particle. Okay. If you don't observe, the particle becomes a wave. Okay. The particle means it has a time, it is limited in size, it has a space, it's small like a ball, one electron. The moment it's wave, it's everywhere. The wave, the nature exists as a wave or particle. This is the understanding of quantum physics. So when does the wave become particle? The moment you observe it. Now, is it wave or particle? If you don't observe it, it's a wave. If you observe it, it's a particle. Okay. So similarly in your life, if you observe it, you become a body. If you don't observe it, you become a wave. You flow. The moment you perceive, the wave becomes a particle, object. Okay. So wave, when you say wave, wave is a possibility. All possibilities are there in the wave. Okay. The moment you observe, you take one possibility and become that.
So what you mean to say in quantum physics is that the subject affects the whatever you see.
The subject affects the whatever you see. Now the subject here is the awareness. Okay. The moment you observe something, there is an object form. Otherwise, you are a wave. Wave is, in other words, wave is nothing but a potential.
Wave, what I understand is very simple. Like a water wave is there.
Yeah, but that's not like in quantum physics language. It's a potential. Potential to take any form.
Energy.
In a form of energy.
There is no like
potential means
matter, not like matter. It's a just.
See, in the sense, the meaning, what is the potential? The meaning of potential is the Gayatri is asking. So potential means your ability to become something. So you have a potential to become a sportsman. You have a potential to become a politician. You have a potential to become a prime minister. You have a potential to become a musician. Potential means the ability in the dormant condition. So the wave is the potential. All possibilities are the wave. Anything can become anything. Infinite potentials are there. So that's why it said individual has an infinite potential. It's divine. So the moment you take one form, you start already the potential has become actualized. Then you start becoming that. Okay. So if you don't observe, you are a wave. So the not observing is called process of meditation.
Not observing.
Not observing is dropping all the observation. Neti.
No, sir. When I observe, it becomes a wave. Not remains object.
No. When you observe, it becomes an object.
It becomes object.
When you don't observe, it is a wave, potential.
Don't observe what is not at all possible.
It is possible now.
If I am not observing, if I am observing you, you become a particle. If I don't observe, what is that?
So no, that is the observe. When you say you observe me, I become particle. When you are speaking, you are becoming a subject. Already you have become subject and you are asking me as an object. Okay. If you don't become subject also, then what are you?
If I don't become subject, cannot be possible.
It is possible. That is called nirvana. That's called mukti. Okay. If you're neither subject nor an object. Okay. Or you are all the subjects and all the objects in the world.
Yes.
So both are true. So that's called nirvana.
Yeah. There is no identity, individuality.
Yeah.
So in that way, it is a way.
Yeah. Okay. Now sit silently. Okay.
So, coming out of Maya was only. Does these questions help you in any way coming out of this?
Correct. So your question is any question in Maya. Answer is also in Maya. Okay. Now, what is the use of question? So the Maya is so confusing. Okay. The Maya is there are so many answers and so many possible answers. Every answer looks to be. You can think it's like a maze. Okay. A maze has so many doors. Okay. You go in this door, you go somewhere. You go in this door somewhere. Each question and answer will lead you to somewhere. But there's one question and one answer which will lead you out of the maze.
One question or one answer?
One question which will lead you out of the maze. So you are trying to find, in the process of asking so many questions, you are trying to find out one question which will get you out of the maze. So if you don't ask the right question, you'll always is going circling in the maze. So the one question which you'll ask is, who am I? Which will help you to get out of this maze called Maya.
But isn't that also part of the Maya only?
The question is part of the Maya, but the answer is not part of the Maya. Answer is once you find the door, you get out.
Maya is control of us. I mean, whatever.
Who is us is the question. That us is not us.
Part of the Maya only.
That's part of Maya. So the one, but that is nothing but self only. The awareness only has entered there. See, awareness is not part of the Maya. Awareness is experience in Maya. Okay. The question, if awareness is also Maya, then you'll, the one who is asking the question is also Maya. The one who is asking the question is the self. Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa is the self.
Chidabhasa is not self. Chidabhasa is part of the Maya only.
No, sir. No. You're not mixing. Chidabhasa is not part of the Maya. Then if the Chidabhasa is also part of the Maya.
Chidabhasa is thought only.
Chidabhasa is not a thought. This is where you're missing. Chidabhasa is the reflection of the self in the reflection is not a part of the mirror. Reflection, I told you, mirror and mirror is the mind. Mirror is the Maya. Reflection is from the consciousness. So Chidabhasa is nothing but self entering there. It is like in your dream. You became a dream girl. Okay, dream girl is dream. The body is dream. But one who is experiencing the dream is the person who is sleeping. His consciousness is there.
Yeah.
So there's not dream.
Correct.
That consciousness experience.
Where is Chidabhasa?
That the person has become alive, no? That's Chidabhasa. The girl in the dream has become alive. Where did you get the consciousness from?
That is part of the Maya only. No?
That experiencing the Maya, but that consciousness is not Maya. The consciousness is coming from the person who is sleeping.
That is pure awareness.
So that is asking the question.
Pure awareness will not ask question. It is just like this only. Chidabhasa can only ask the question you are telling. But Chidabhasa is also part of the Maya itself.
No, sir, you are mixing up. So if everything is Maya, then there's nothing called nothing. We don't have to ask anything.
That Maya has come out.
Who is trying to come out? Who is trying to come out of Maya?
Is the Maya only?
No, Maya only is not coming out of Maya. Maya is the projection. And you have entered into the Maya in the form of Chidabhasa. You means self. In your dream, you have entered into the dream as the dream girl. So that dream girl wants to get out. Correct now? That dream girl is the Chidabhasa. So Chidabhasa plus intellect is called Jiva. Chidabhasa plus intellect is called the Jiva. Okay. Now Jiva is not comfortable with what it is. The Jiva wants to get out. Now Jiva is also Maya. If you say Jiva is also Maya illusion, then there's nobody trying to get out. But there is somebody trying to get out of that. Who is that somebody trying to get out? Chidabhasa, which is associated with the Jiva. Chidabhasa is nothing but original consciousness. That's why you say you are Atma. You means Chidabhasa. So the Chidabhasa, which is trapped in Maya, wants to get out. Who is Chidabhasa? Chidabhasa is nothing but original self only.
Chidabhasa is original self, but constrained and limited by.
There's not constrained and limited. It's thinking it's constrained and limited. It's
Yeah, that is what we call as Chidabhasa.
No. Chidabhasa plus the constraint is called Jiva.
Chidabhasa is not constrained.
Chidabhasa is not constrained. No, Chidabhasa is the reflection. Where is the constraint for that? I am, pure I am. Where is the constraint? I am the body, there is a reflection, a constraint. In I am, it's called Ishvara. There's no constraint for that.
But pure awareness is there, I am is there. Pure awareness is not at all constrained. But I am is definitely.
I am is constrained. I am is reflected on the surface. Okay, then and I am takes the body. I am is called Aham. Aham has no limitation. Its reflection is there. It's not original. Original is infinite. But even in the limited sense, it's also unlimited.
Yeah, because in every reflection, the original is also available.
Correct. So that I am as I am, it's not constrained. It's constrained from the original point of view, but not constrained from the reality, not constrained from his own point of view. So that is called Ishvara. So that I am, which is identified with the body, is called Jiva. I am body. So that I am body is uncomfortable. That wants to get out. Okay, now.
I wants to get out. I am wants to get out from that body feeling to.
Yeah. Out. All right. There is somebody who is really trying. So even trying is also not illusion.
Trying is not illusion.
Trying, he is suffering. No, he is feeling his suffering.
Suffering is also illusion. I mean,
No. See, either you say suffering is there, then he wants to get out. No, then there's nobody to get out. Also, you'll say.
somebody is trying to get out.
That is the jiva. That's the
feeling of trying to getting out. It's also part of it Maya one.
Correct, Appa. But
Sir, there is a movie that one figure is
no, don't mix up. Don't mix up this. See, are you suffering or not? Why are you sitting here and listening to me? So that's the where answer is that much only. So who is suffering is the Chidabhasa, who is feeling that he is suffering. Now the answer for Chidabhasa is you are not suffering. It's an illusion. So get out of the illusion is the answer. So once you get out of the illusion, there's no illusion. But till you get out of the illusion, illusion is real. Maya is real. So you can't mix up two answers.
I just one line I will understand. You see me right. There is a movie starting and there is a moving ending. Will has the character any role? Can I have the control that no, I want to go in, I want to go out. It starts and it ends. So Maya also starts, projection starts, everything starts, and it will end. What is the role?
Maya does not end. Maya does not end. It's a continuous projection. So Maya is ongoing. No, it's a process. It's a process.
Once there is a realization that I am not this body mind, I am the self, absolute self.
So when you realize that this is Maya, you realize your own true nature. Correct now? Correct. Maya does not end. Maya, your association with the Maya ends.
Maya will not end.
Your association is Jiva. We can answer only from the point of view Jiva. Your association with Maya ends. Okay, now either the Maya is there or continuing, that's none of your question.
Correct.
You cannot answer that. So your association, you got trapped in the Maya, you come out. So then it doesn't affect you. Okay. So you understand that Maya was all the time was projection of the mind. So the mind is not real. So I am free. So that is the answer. Now you cannot keep answering the question whether the Maya is there, continuing, or is it affecting somebody. That all these questions are irrelevant.
No, my question is very simple, sir. That can I, my individual effort as an individual, as a Chidabhasa, can bring me out of Maya?
Obviously, no.
When the Maya's time is coming out.
See, there's nothing called there's nothing called Maya's timing, sir. There's nothing called Maya's timing.
The story has been decided already.
No. Yes, we are mixing up things again. See, don't mix up things. So the Maya, you feel as if you're trapped in Maya. You feel as if you're trapped in Maya. So who is it you? Is nothing but consciousness. Okay?
When you say that, I feel that I am what do you say, the Maya, I'm just getting it into that. That is Maya.
See, look at the dream. In your dream, you went into a dream forest. Okay? So dream forest got projected. Why did it got projected? Because you have a desire, some hidden desire to experience a forest. Correct? The vasana is there. So you went into a dream and tiger starts chasing and you got scared and you woke up from the dream. There's no more dream. So same thing happens in Maya. There is a desire for experiencing Maya. There is a projection which happens. So when the projection becomes horrible or your experience is over, then you wake up. The projection is also from you. Waking up also is from you.
I understand from individual point of view. From Maya point of view, the dream starting and dream end, already there, no sir. The dream has to start.
There's nothing called Maya point of view. Maya is insentient. Maya is Jada. There's nothing called Maya is not Chetana. You are giving reality to Maya. So Maya, there's no called Maya point of view.
But Maya, I only started as a consciousness.
So that's what I'm saying. You started with the impression, vasana. Okay. So you experienced it. And when the experience comes to an end, whatever you desire to experience, that's complete, you wake up.
So that is all part of Maya only. That coming in and coming out.
No, see, you are speaking Maya is independent. Maya is not independent. Maya is dependent on you, the consciousness.
Yeah, it starts with me and it ends with me. But what starts and ends, that story is, I mean.
Who determines study? You only. You means consciousness. See, the Maya is not an independent entity at all. The dream is not an independent entity. Dream is the projection of the dreamer. Okay, dream has no reality of its own. The sleeping person has created the dream or projected the dream to experience his vasanas. So then the dream itself is creating me, a dream is giving suffering. There's no answer for that.
This coming out of the process, like tiger coming and I am seeing that, oh, tiger coming, who it is coming, who am I, and all these things. That is also part of the dream only.
Correct.
That's what I am telling you.
It's a part of the dream. But no, you are speaking of Maya as if Maya is an independent entity. Maya is not an independent entity.
Yeah, it is dependent on, I mean, definitely, if there is no dreamer, there is no dream.
Huh.
Dreamer is there. That's
So
why
the
dream is
dreamer enters the dream with a desire for some experience. When the experience got over, he wakes up.
But that's what I mean. Dream, that dream or Maya is deciding, no, that okay, then self-inquiry starts, and then it is starting realizing, and then it is just waking up.
Correct.
That actually also dream is only have that control.
See, this is what I'm saying. You are mixing up your dream and dreamer. They are one entity. So you are, see, when you say dream is having a control over me, when it will decide when it will wake me up, that's wrong answer, wrong thinking. Because then dream is an independent entity you are thinking. Maya is independent entity you are thinking. Maya is not independent entity. Maya is your own projection. They're not independent entity. Okay? It's not dream which is deciding. It's your vasanas. Your desire to end the dream will wake you up. So you entered the dream thinking that I want to experience something. You entered Maya with I want to experience something. So when that experience is coming to a maturity, you're waking up from the dream. Now, it's not the dream which is deciding you. It's your interaction in the dream. It's your play in the dream. The dream is not independent entity at all. Maya is not independent entity at all.
The dream character, is he trying to come out of the dream?
Obviously, no. This whole thing we are saying that only. There's a dream character who is real, who is trying to come out.
He's not real, no? He's part of the Maya only.
So Chidabhasa is not, Chidabhasa is real. I've been telling you all the time. So if Chidabhasa is also part of Maya, there's nothing to discuss.
He was not part of Maya.
Chidabhasa is a reflection in the Maya. Chidabhasa is the person you are sleeping and you have become a dream girl. So dream girl, the consciousness is real. The consciousness is coming from the sleeper. So that is Chidabhasa. The dream girl body is not the girl now. Consciousness is coming from the sleeping person. See, if you consider everything as Maya, then there's nothing to discuss because there's nothing to discuss. There is somebody who is real there. It's called Chidabhasa. That real Chidabhasa is trying to come out of the dream. If Chidabhasa is also your unreal, if you say, then there's nothing to discuss. What is the discussion there for unreality? Why are you discussing?
Because I consider Chidabhasa as a body.
Yeah, that's where you are real, but you are mixing with unreal. The Chidabhasa is nothing but original consciousness. So the Chidabhasa is not comfortable with the body as a position. That's why there's somebody who is real in this unreal. It's as good as, it's almost like there's a video game. In the video game, you got trapped. Okay? And you're uncomfortable. And you want to come out of the video game. It's like situations like that. So there is somebody who is real who is trying to come out. Okay? Let's sit silently. Who is asking the question for this question? Right? Chidabhasa or reflected consciousness identifies the body sometimes, mind sometimes, intellect sometimes. Right? They say identification happens. So the ultimate who is trying to get out is the Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa is the reality. That real Chidabhasa has entered into the dream world. So it wants to get out. How it can get out? It only by realizing that everything is a dream. I am the pure consciousness. It has to know. Then it has to develop. So the question is also always asked from the point of view of when you ask the question, you always ask the question from the point of your body and mind. So for example, you ask why the dream is there. So the question is from the dream world, and dream is only dream character is asking the question. So your question always should be able to relate it to finding out how do I get out from the dream, rather than explaining the dream itself. There can be so many explanations for the dream. How to get out from the dream is the question. Okay, that is the right question, which is Chidabhasa is asking. I mean, I can say one who is trying to wake up. Others will always question who is ask a question who is related to the dream world. So then the dream world is like a dream is like a maze. So there are so many gates. Each gate you go somewhere. But ultimately, you cannot get out. So you have to ask the right question, which will help you to get out of the maze.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. What is the question?
Chidabhasa is trying to get out. We feel like that. Chidabhasa is I am, and that is not constrained by anything. So I think that ego, that is when the I am is.
Yeah, I am. That's what I'm saying.
With body,
see,
mind.
See, that's what I said. Who asked the question is the Jiva. Now, why Jiva asked the question? Because Jiva is not confirmed. Jiva is the identified consciousness with the body or mind or intellect. So it's not comfortable. Who is not comfortable? The body is not comfortable is not the answer. The mind is not comfortable is not the answer. The consciousness identified with the body and mind is not comfortable. Who is that consciousness? Chidabhasa. Right? So, any other question, Katyayani or Pugalan? Yes. Okay. What is the practical question?
There are three things I see, scenarios I see. One is that when I listen from you, when I'm doing meditation, samadhi, or everything, at that time there is a clarity. Okay, so I know that there is a consciousness, and as a witnessing, as I'm seeing this all movement and everything. So that's so much clarity is there that you are very much happy. But this is one scenario. Second scenario is that when you are involved in everything, when I'm discussing with you, or when I'm thinking something, when I'm seeing TV, I'm involved in my work, office work also. So much I'm involved. And that is what happens, I don't know. Third scenario is that what I told you yesterday, I was totally disturbed in office. I was very much disturbed. And at that time, actually, there was a awareness that yes, I am pure awareness. But again, that was dominating the other feeling. So the first way I understand, but the second, when I am involved with some thoughts or some involvement in the activity, what happens to the awareness?
See, the mind is not. See, your question is there are three scenarios you are facing in life. One is when you're meditating, you are feeling peaceful and you know that you are Atma or pure awareness, something like that. Then when you come to the world, when you're getting involved with the activity, okay, there are thoughts. The third scenario is you can get, you get disturbed in sometimes. Okay. So what it means is that mind is not completely, ignorance is not completely gone. Okay. The what you call Atmanishte, establishment of the self has to happen at the deepest level of the mind. The vasanas have to get clear at that level. So that's why that means you have to go again and again back to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa has to continue until the deep-rooted vasanas have to get clear. So what will happen is that when you interact with society, the deep-rooted vasanas still come out.
That's okay, but when I am involved, if I am discussing with you also, there is not a thought coming. Definitely, awareness is always there. That attention is not going to self.
There's no need to go to self.
But is it possible like that? That when
I am involved so when you are that's the when you are involved in something, okay. So that the work, let's say you are doing something. So the whole question is, a person who is self-realized is the self all the time? Yes, in the sense, let's say a person is involved in the, let's say, I'll give you the example of Ramana Maharshi, right? So how a person who is Gnani can do work? That was the question when Ramana Maharshi was walking around the mountain. Okay, that Tiruvannamalai mountain, he was going, and somebody is coming asking the question, how Gnani can be fully involved in the work. Ramana Maharshi doesn't answer anything. He takes a stick, okay? The stick, some wooden piece, some wood, a tree, branch of the tree had fallen. It takes that, cleans it very cleanly. Very carefully cleans and makes a walking stick out of that. So then he says the walking, while doing it, he completely involved in the work. So then he drops it and goes. So what happens is that when you do anything, okay, there is three aspects: doer, deed, and doing. It's called Triputi. The split is there: doer, deed, and doing. Okay. So now the doer and deed and doing is the projection of the mind. When you are doing, only action is there. There's no three. Okay. There's not even a concept of self is there. It's only the self itself has become the doing. So don't bring the duality of, oh, I'm the self watching doing. Just be the doing, fully involved in that. And when you come back, just become the Sakshi and drop the identity, I am the doer. So you have to do any work without the sense of doership. That is the work. Then the work will be very perfect, very clear.
But that is not a Jnani's only.
See, there is nobody called Gnani.
No, normal individual also, whenever we are involved in something.
Yeah,
discussing with you, I'm just only discussing.
So there is a difference between Gnani and Adnani. When Adnani does something, immediately after doing, his sense of doership comes. I only did this. Or doing also that comes. I only did this. I'm doing it. Okay. Gnani, there's no sense of doership during doing or after doing or before doing. But there's only doing is there over. So in case of Adnani, I am the doer. Okay. That sense of doership is there. So Gnani's actions are enlightened actions, are perfect actions. There's no sense of doership at all. That's why we cannot say a Gnani is, there's a person called Gnani. Okay, there is an enlightened action called Gnani. Okay, actions are enlightened. There is action, Gnani's actions will flow. Okay, there is a spontaneous action. There's no doer. There is a completely doing. There's no doer sense of doership before or after. Whereas Adnani has a sense of doership before, during, and after.
During how?
During, you will think I am doing. The doing is interpreted by I am doing. During
I am totally involved in that.
if you're totally involved, there may not be anything. But then again, the doership will come, immediately will come. Doership is the background thought process. In case of Gnani, there's no doership background at all.
When I'm doing and completely involved in that, is that, is that I am in awareness or I am not in awareness?
No, you are in awareness. See, the awareness, you cannot separate out from anything. Awareness is everything you do, the awareness is there. Awareness is like you cannot separate out. So you have to ask the question, am I unaware of myself? So the moment you become the doership appears, you are unaware of yourself. There's action without doership is enlightened action. Action without a sense of doership before, during, or after is called enlightened action. In that, there's full focus is there, complete involvement is there.
But during the action, actually, if I am completely involved, there is no doership. No?
And if you are doing action, you are completely involved, that's perfectly all right. But the question is only before and after.
Third scenario which I told, that where I know that there is an irritation, there is an issue, there is a problem, and I'm not that, I'm pure consciousness, but that takes dominating, that is very much dominating. And totally you are not able to come out. Even the awareness is there.
That's okay. That's okay. That's how it will happen. No? Say, so you're saying you're getting disturbed sometime, and then you'll be able to come out slowly or it takes time. That's okay. It's enlightenment.
But when I know that I am pure consciousness, why does
that's what I'm saying. It is, see, you're actually, it is like exactly, enlightenment is like learning cycling. When you're learning cycling, initially somebody has to hold your cycle carrier. After then somebody will leave it. Then you'll pedal 2 steps and you'll fall. Then after that you pedal 10 steps and you fall. After that you cycle smoothly. Okay. Then initially in your learning cycling, you have to be in the you will have to be away from the street. Okay. After that you can drive in the traffic also. Enlightenment is also like that. Your vasanas will be still covering. So you'll fall. Again you'll have to come back. You'll fall. Again you have to come back until that the whole Atmanishta or vasanas, earlier vasanas of body and mind and intellect, they are rooted out.
But here what I'm doing is, when I am dominated by vasana, I am not at all aware of that myself. And after that I come to know.
That's right.
But other thing what I see is that during that activity, during that, okay, no, irritation is there, this is that, and that pure awareness. But still the disturbance is there. Here I think that, okay, disturbance is not myself.
That's what I'm saying. When the disturbance is there, you got involved with the body and mind unconsciously. Chidabhasa has got fully involved with it. It thinks that I am that. I am. So this is because the vasanas which are there, residual vasanas, they're still not gone fully. Okay. That vasanas have to be fried. It will happen. So it is better situation compared to earlier you didn't even know such thing existed. Now, yeah, it is like earlier you didn't know cycling. Then you start learning cycling. After learning cycling, you will fall. Then again you'll walk. Again you'll go. It's like that. It will climbing and falling will happen. So this Jnana is also like that. Initially, you don't even know Adnana is fully over. Then you start knowing it's Atma. Then you'll be able to, for a little bit time, you'll be there. Then, or a continuous period of time. Then again, gradually the vasanas will dissolve. So that's how it will happen.
So that way, is it like I'm developing a habit actually?
What is habit?
That because earlier I didn't have the habit of being in attention to the consciousness. Now I am developing a habit of attending to the
It's okay, no?
consciousness.
Let that be habit only. Let that be habit only. Unconscious habit has to be replaced with the conscious habit. Then, see, it's like somebody has taken poison. Okay, poison is a chemical. Then a medicine is given also as a chemical. So then medicine will have to remove. So unconscious habits have to be replaced with the conscious habits. If you don't develop conscious habits, how will you go?
If I come out of the habit pattern itself after that, I mean, good habit.
No, that will naturally drop. You don't have to do it. See, it's like medicine will be effective until that disease is there. So jnana is there. After that, you don't feel it's need. You don't feel like that habit is required.
This analogy could be disease again.
It can't be. It can't be. It can't be. So it is it's like almost what I'm saying is.
Then that's why it is called like ultimate medicine.
It's an ultimate medicine. Yeah. So basically, it is once the vasanas impressions go, then the jnana also go. It's like the example given in the Vedanta is that dead body is there. For dead body, burning dead body, you take one stick and light up the fire. Then you put the fire, the dead stick also into the fire. That also will burn. So jnana is like that. It is used to burn the adnana. Jnana also will burn out. You don't need a, see, for example, right now, you don't have to remember I'm a man anytime, because that's already become deep-rooted. Deep-rooted. Like that, once jnana removes adnana, then after that it becomes deep-rooted, then you don't need to put effort.
The 4 levels of how the expression of any thought or sound is expressed, like the para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikari. So the origin of any sound of any thought, it originates from the para level, paravani, correct? So is it from the pure consciousness, the para level?
It's beyond, yeah. Para is awareness.
So the jnani is able to identify it at the paravani level. So that's why it cannot the expression of any anger cannot happen at the vaikari level.
Jnani is not identifying. Jnani is in para.
Jnani is in para. That's why he cannot identify any feelings of anger which happen in him. It can be identified at that level.
He is able to look at the whole process of Pashyanti, Madhyami, and Vaikari.
Okay.
He is in para. See,
he is in para.
If somebody is like imagine it's a mountain top, right? So somebody is at the bottom of the mountain, he can only see something. Some of the mountain, he can see something else. Some of the top of the mountain, he can see so many things.
Okay.
So Jnani is functioning from the para level. So he is able to see Pashyanti, Madhyami, Vaikari operating, functioning.
Yes, correct. So we are at the process, where can we start acting upon that 4 levels, Guruji? We should.
Who is we?
That is the I.
Who is that I?
The pure consciousness. So how?
No problem, no.
So when anger comes, how can we control it? At the
anger comes, you cannot control it. No, you don't have to control.
Yeah. You do not have to control.
See, it's like Yuddha Kala Shastrabhyasa.
Yeah.
Some soldier goes to the war, he doesn't know how to fight, use the gun, and practice the gun shooting in a war field, how it will work.
Yes.
So when anger comes, you can't do anything.
Yes.
So you have to observe your mind and become aware of the mind offline.
Offline, okay.
All right. That's what Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, and Seva is all about.
Yes, correct.
It is like this. If you do gymnastics, no? You go to the gym and do exercise.
Yes.
You will not have a disease. Correct, no? So now when I have a disease, I will do a gym and do exercise means what? How will it be possible? When you have anger, nothing you can do. It's already come. It's already.
Yeah.
So your whole, you have to go to gym when you are healthy, not when you are not healthy.
Yes.
Right? So similarly, when your mind is in the mind, you have to make it a habit. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, Seva. This you have to make it a habit. It's a good habit. So that will remove the possibility of anger. After anger comes, you can't do anything.
Yes, correct. We cannot. Then the regret comes after we have already done the action. So
yeah, then don't worry about regret also. Don't worry about regret also. You focus on your Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa.
Yes. That's why you say we should instead of reacting, we should act. When we act, then we
reacting to act also is not addition, because the reaction has already come. You can't do anything about it.
Yes. Correct. Right?
To get the sense that I should act, it should be, mind should be pure. No, we are already purified. No.
Yeah. So the more we work on ourselves and purify the mind level, this will happen automatically to us.
Correct. It's a result, byproduct.
Yeah. Correct.
So this whole process of spirituality is not to tell you how to manage anger, how to control anger. That's psychiatric.
Yes. Correct.
Right? So when anger comes, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
So you don't tell anything like that.
Yeah, you told that in the
I won't even tell, okay, when anger comes, ask who am I? You don't ask.
Yes, correct.
Anger is there.
Yeah. No, sometimes we will say, no, I'm not, when pain comes, no, we continuously repeat, I'm not the body. But it doesn't happen. We feel the pain, we feel everything.
Yeah.
But just saying that.
See, this I am not the body is not, there's a thought to take you to awareness.
Yes.
It is not a japa.
Yes, correct.
It's not a chanting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, Gurudev. Thank you.
So shall we close for the day?